here in Base Camp with Sean Hillen in his exhibition Ghost Shops. So, Sean, could you tell me a little bit about what inspired you to do this exhibition?
Well, there's the story of, there's an accident really, how I started doing them, which was sticking my nose into closing shop windows and wanting to see what was going on. And the natural curiosity, of course, then you want to photograph it. And then I realised that I had to struggle to photograph it because of the reflections. And then I realised that the reflections actually were part of the story and were very interesting. And I started this project of photographing the shops using the reflections so that you see the interior and you also see the outside world. It's very specifically, kind of partly politically, socially or whatever. It's about these shops that have been closing in the last year or two. You know, retail spaces of various types. There's even a cinema. There's a couple of different things, but mostly shops. It's about this, what I call the carnage on the streets. It's a kind of battlefield photography, to be frank. It's tiptoeing among the corpses, almost.
And where exactly did you shoot them? Are they all around?
Wherever I happen to be. Wherever you look, you'll find them. You only have to look. That's one of the messages of it, is that they're everywhere and we're not looking at them. And we're not seeing it happening under our noses, Mm-hmm. So wherever I would go, I'm an inveterate photographer and I've taken hundreds of thousands of photos, I'm sure. And so I always have a camera on me. So it formed a project for me, though I've little ongoing projects, and this became a big one. So it's basically about 2 years collection. Maybe I might have photographed 150, I don't know how many different premises, just wherever I went. There's some from London, there's a lot from Dublin, there's some from Newry, there's some from Oma, there's some from Clones, there's some from quite a few from Drogheda. Wherever I went, I would look around and there they would be.
So kind of just echoing the economic situation.
Yeah, it's one of the very clear symptoms of the economic crash, which is what it is, which I believe, to be frank, is a staged economic crash. And I think that this is, unnecessary, and even in those terms, and, could be managed better and could be mitigated, and is a terrible disaster in our society, actually.
But you've made, really beautiful images out of it. And when I think of your other work, like all your collage work and everything, this is kind of like a development, isn't it, of the technique? It's a continuation of it intellectually, I suppose, as well, and politically, isn't it, that I can't help go and look, pay attention here, especially it's the same theme, actually, of all the recent work, which was about things we don't want to look at or we're not seeing. And it carries the same conundrum of trying to make an art out of unattractive material, frankly. At least notionally it was a challenge, and it has been a challenge, and I have struggled with it to some extent. There's actually a bit of comedy in some of the pictures. There's there is black humour. There is beauty, I'm glad, you see. And even that, I, still have questions about how appropriate it is, even, to make, beautiful battlefield pictures. And the way that you superimpose them, technically, how does that work? What kind of camera do you use? And
well, they're one of the positive things about them is that they are kind of marvellous in a way, because they're very counterintuitive. You don't quite expect to see them, and people have looked at them and assumed that they were Photoshop, but they're straight photos. But I'm using the window of the shop as a partial mirror, and using my own shade and the camera lens to shade the inside, so you partly see the inside and partly the outside. And because of the light levels, the way they mix, various bits of the picture dominate. So I've worked with that, you see, as a device.
Oh, that's amazing, because it looks like you've superimposed two images.
A lot of people think they are. It is collage without Photoshop or collage of a kind. So I am allowing myself to photograph two different things going on, and it is about that incongruity, of course, as well, about the kind of tragedy writ, in small and large forms inside the shops, and the kind of outside world grinding on outside.
And also the whole thing of the reflection, that you're reflected back in it.
There's a kind of, it's a very thin joke that you're seeing it through me. You're literally seeing it through me being there. when that's part of it, I suppose. But like there are things, for instance, there's a scene of a beautiful toy shop, a high-end toy shop that was in Dawson Street, and I kind of watched it closing. I knew it was going to probably get closed, and I tried to photograph it. It was hard to photograph because there wasn't much to see, and I smooched there one day, and as I mooched, a lady went past with 2 young girls, and as she went past, she was saying, the toy shop's closed now. And one of them looked up at her and the other looked in dismay, and that's my photograph. So it is about, the pictures are to that extent about the interaction between the inside and outside. And they do other interesting technical things. Because you're looking in a mirror, you feel the point of view, your mind reads it as if you were inside the shop, if you see what I mean. Because the point of view feels as if it's a foot or two behind the glass. And that's the way the perspective reads. So that makes you feel as if you're inside the shop, kind of partially trapped and looking out at the world. And that's a kind of strange.
Like it's very disorienting.
It's disorienting.
But then there's that ghostliness about it.
I mean, I think, again, that is appropriate. And I was thinking that part of the nature of this recession and these events, economic events, is that they're very deeply confusing to most people. They're incomprehensible. And this is, we've had a big psychic shock and we don't really know what to do about it. Mm-hmm. And, so everything, your normal, what we thought were, the norms of everyday life have kind of crumbled around us.
So life goes on and yet these spaces are vacated.
I mean, one of the starting points, again, is the kind of tragic little things that are left behind. For instance, there's a beautiful little wine shop that was in Temple Bar. And last year when I showed in the photo archive, I bought the wine in there. And it was a young South African guy, and he was just so enthusiastic about wine. He just wanted to explain, tell you about wine. Yeah. And now when you look in there, or at least when I looked in to photograph it, there's a set of keys abandoned and an opened letter. And this is the normal detritus of a business failure, Yeah. And it's tragic. It must be devastating to people personally. I know that, for instance, 2 people got very angry at me whilst I was photographing shops.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I did, because I think, they were. No, they were. In both cases, were the owner or landlord. One of them was in the process of refitting the shop to be something else. So he was sort of annoyed for that reason, properly, and, fine. And the other one, the guy just lost the head and told me he'd kicked my head in. And I think that was just the personal anger.
It looks like, when you're thinking about photography as a medium in your work, it looks like you are thinking how photography can be an intervention. Is that what your work is? What is the role of photography today, or can it be, do you think?
I always thought that photography lends itself. It's engaged in the real world, isn't it? And when if you do anything with a photograph, you carry an incredible amount of illusions and, complexities with it. So, and they have a very close, albeit complicated relationship to reality and all of that, and so that's been one of my tropes about what's real and what's really going on. So, but it is the first time I've ever exhibited my straight photography. So it's a lot of fun from that point of view. Like, I've taken so many photos, but I've never exhibited straight photos before, all for as straight as they are.
You mean without cutting out and superimposing and...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun from that point of view. I think I kind of haven't been a collagist and stealing other people's pictures for so long. I think I wanted to just prove that I am a photographer too, and can do it.
Yeah. It's amazing because they really look like collages, but they're not. It's incredible.
Maybe I can't operate any other way,
Yeah.
I think
it's kind of drawing 2 things together and almost like making a statement with that.
Somebody said that, I think Houseman or somebody said about John Hartfield that photomontage is static film. And I think a photograph is, to that extent, is a static film, that there's a narrative, that there's stuff going on and that there are relationships within it and all of that. At least my kind of photography is like that. And I think these very much are like that. They are worth seeing. I hasten to encourage.
Yes, brilliant. Okay, thanks very much, Sean.
Thank you.